My sister smirked and told me, only for family, when they left me out of my parents' anniversary party. So I packed my bags and traveled alone a week later. They were on the phone, crying and begging for help. I simply asked, "Are we even family?" The phone call came on a Tuesday afternoon, and my sister's voice had that edge to it, the one she used when she'd already made up her mind. "Emma, listen," she said, not even bothering with a greeting. "The anniversary party this weekend? It's just for family." I froze, my coffee cup halfway to my lips. Just for family. The words hung in the air of my Chicago apartment like smoke I couldn't wave away. I'm Emma Fletcher, 32 years old, a freelance graphic designer trying to make it in this city. And apparently, I wasn't family anymore. "What do you mean, just family?" I asked, my voice coming out smaller than I intended. Through the phone, I could hear the rustle of papers, the click of her keyboard. My sister Natalie was always multitasking, always too important to give anyone her full attention. "Mom and Dad wanted intimate," she said smoothly. "You know how it is. Just the core family. Don't make this a thing, Emma. Don't make this a thing." That was Natalie's favorite phrase, deployed whenever she wanted to shut me down without actually addressing anything. I stared at my computer screen, where I'd been working on a logo for a client, and felt something crack inside my chest. This wasn't just about a party. This was my parents' 40th anniversary. 40 years of marriage they were celebrating in Milwaukee, just 90 miles north of where I sat today. And I wasn't invited. "Natalie," I started, but she cut me off. "Look, I've got to run. Mom's swamped with the planning. She asked me to call you because she didn't have time herself." "Okay? We'll catch up soon." The line went dead before I could respond. I set my phone down carefully, like it might explode. My hands were shaking. Not with sadness, not yet, but with something hotter, sharper. Anger, maybe, or the first stirrings of something I'd kept buried for too long. My mind raced back through the years. How many times had I driven to Milwaukee when they needed me? How many times had I dropped everything to help my family? Just last year, I'd sent $5,000 when my parents needed emergency repairs on their furnace. The year before that, I'd covered $3,000 for my brother's wedding expenses when he came up short. And Natalie, I'd lost count of how much I'd loaned her for her boutique, for her car payments, for her endless stream of emergencies. I pulled up my bank statements, scrolling through the transactions. $8,000 over the past 2 years. Maybe more. Money I'd scraped together from freelance gigs, from staying up until 3 in the morning to meet client deadlines, from saying no to myself so I could say yes to them. And now I wasn't even family. I thought about calling my mother, Janet Fletcher, to ask her directly, but I already knew what she'd say. "Oh, honey, don't be dramatic." That was her favorite line, the one she used to smooth over anything uncomfortable. My father, Robert, would just defer to her like he always did, nodding along to whatever story they'd agreed upon. No, I wasn't going to beg for explanations. Not this time. I stood up from my desk and walked to the window, looking out at the Chicago skyline. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the buildings, and somewhere in the distance, I could hear a siren wailing. This city had been my refuge for the past 8 years, the place where I'd tried to build something that was mine alone. But even here, 90 miles away, my family's gravity had pulled at me, demanding pieces of myself I could never get back. Something had to change. I just didn't know what yet. Friday evening, my cousin Lily called, and I could hear the fury in her voice before she even got a full sentence out. "Emma, are you sitting down?" she asked, her words tumbling over each other. "Because I just found out what's really going on with this anniversary party, and you're going to lose your mind." Lily worked as an event coordinator in Milwaukee, and she'd been helping with some last-minute details for my parents' celebration. She was the only family member I actually trusted, the only one who'd never treated me like an ATM with occasional dinner invitations. "What did you find out?" I asked, though part of me didn't want to know. "Emma, this isn't a small family gathering. This is a full-blown event. They've rented out the Riverside Terrace, you know, that fancy venue overlooking Lake Michigan. They've got a live band, professional catering, the whole 9 yards. And I saw the guest list." She paused, and I could hear her breathing hard, like she'd been running. 85 people, Emma. Cousins you haven't seen in years, neighbors, friends from their church, even some people from Dad's old work. Your name isn't anywhere on it. My stomach dropped. The Riverside Terrace was one of the most expensive venues in Milwaukee. I'd looked at it once for a client event and nearly choked on the prices. This wasn't intimate. This was elaborate. This was expensive. And I had helped pay for it. How much did you send them? Lily asked quietly. $3,000 for the party specifically, I whispered. Mom called 6 weeks ago, said they needed help with the costs. Said they wanted to do something nice but couldn't quite afford it. Lily swore softly. Emma, I'm looking at the invoice right now. This event is costing at least $20,000. They had plenty of money. They wanted more. I felt dizzy. I pressed my palm against the cool glass of my window and tried to breathe. Why? I asked. Why would they lie? Why would they take my money and then not even invite me? I don't know, Lily said, and I could hear tears in her voice now. But I'm so sorry. You deserve so much better than this. After I hung up with Lily, I did something I rarely did. I called Natalie back. When she answered, her voice had that false brightness she used with clients at her boutique. Emma, what's up? Lily told me about the party, I said flatly. 85 guests. The Riverside Terrace. A live band. Want to explain why you told me it was just immediate family? There was a pause, just long enough for me to hear her recalculating. Then she laughed. Actually laughed. Oh, Emma, you're being so dramatic about this. Look, it's complicated. You're always so busy with your work, flying off to meet clients, doing your own thing. Mom and Dad thought you'd feel out of place. Out of place. At my own parents' anniversary party. I sent $3,000 for this party, Natalie. And that was generous of you, she said brightly, like I'd just paid for coffee. But honestly, Emma, you've always been the independent one. The family gatherings, the Milwaukee scene, it's not really your vibe, you know? You've made your life in Chicago. Let Mom and Dad have their moment with the people who are actually around. The people who are actually around. The words hit like a slap. So I'm not really family, I said slowly. That's what you're saying. Stop twisting my words. Natalie's voice sharpened. You always do this, make everything about you. This is Mom and Dad's day. Can't you just be happy for them without inserting yourself into everything? I hung up without responding. My hands were trembling again, but this time it wasn't anger. It was clarity, cold and bright and absolutely certain. They'd used me. For years, they'd used me. My money, my time, my energy, all of it flowing in one direction, with nothing coming back except excuses and dismissals. And now they couldn't even be bothered to pretend I mattered. I pulled up my laptop and started searching. I didn't know exactly what I was looking for yet, but I knew I needed to do something just for me, something that had nothing to do with them or their expectations or their endless demands. My cursor hovered over a travel site I'd bookmarked months ago, back when I'd fantasized about taking a real vacation instead of quick work trips. The homepage showed a stunning photo of Santorini, white buildings against impossibly blue water, sunset painting everything gold. I'd always wanted to go to Greece. Always said someday while I sent money to Milwaukee, while I worked double shifts to cover my family's emergencies, while I put my life on hold for people who apparently didn't even want me at their celebration. My finger clicked before my brain could catch up. Saturday morning, I called Whitney, my best friend who worked for a luxury travel agency. If anyone could work miracles on short notice, it was her. Emma Fletcher, what's going on? Whitney answered, and I could hear the smile in her voice. You never call on weekends unless something's happening. I need to go to Greece, I said. As soon as possible. Like, Monday if you can make it work. There was a pause. Greece? What happened to the anniversary party? I'm not invited, I said simply. The words didn't even hurt anymore. They were just facts, like saying the sky was blue or Chicago had brutal winters. They didn't. Emma, are you serious? Completely serious. And I'm done, Whitney. I'm done with all of it. I need to get away, and I need to do something that's entirely for me. Can you help? I heard the click of computer keys. You deserve so much more than this family gives you, she said fiercely. Let's make this trip unforgettable. Give me 2 hours. True to her word, Whitney called back before noon. Okay, I've got you on a flight Monday afternoon from O'Hare to Athens, with a connection to Santorini. First class, don't even try to argue, you need this. I found you a gorgeous boutique hotel in OIA, with a private terrace overlooking the caldera. 4 nights, with options to extend if you fall in love with the place. I've also arranged a sunset sailing tour, a wine tasting at a local vineyard, and a private photography tour because I know you'll want to capture everything. My throat tightened. Whitney, I don't know what to say. Say you'll post pictures so I can live vicariously through you, she said warmly. And Emma? Block their numbers while you're gone. All of them. You don't owe them your time or energy anymore. The rest of Saturday blurred past in a flurry of packing. I pulled out my best camera, the one I'd bought 3 years ago but barely used because I was always too busy working to actually enjoy photography. I packed light cotton dresses, comfortable sandals, and enough sunscreen for a month. Each item I folded felt like a small act of rebellion, a choice I was making for myself. Sunday morning, I posted something I'd never done before, a teaser on my social media. Sometimes you have to choose yourself, I wrote, adding a photo of my passport and a plane ticket with the destination blurred out. Off on an adventure. See you on the other side. The responses came fast, friends commenting about how brave I was, clients asking where I was headed, acquaintances I hadn't heard from in months sending encouraging messages. It felt strange to be seen like this, to put myself forward without apologizing or explaining. Monday afternoon, I boarded the plane. As it taxied down the runway, I watched Chicago disappear beneath me, and for the first time in years, I felt light. Not happy yet. Happiness seemed too big, too much to reach for. But light, like I'd set down a weight I'd been carrying so long I'd forgotten it was there. The flight was long, but I didn't mind. I read a novel I'd been meaning to finish for months. I sketched in the journal Whitney had tucked into my bag. I even slept, really slept, without my phone buzzing with another request or crisis from Milwaukee. When the plane finally descended toward Athens, I pressed my face to the window like a child, watching the ancient city spread out below me, white buildings scattered across hills, the Aegean Sea glittering beyond. We landed as the sun was setting, painting everything in shades of amber and rose. The connection to Santorini was short, and then I was on a smaller plane, flying over islands that looked like scattered jewels in the darkening water. By the time I reached the hotel in OIA, it was night, but the village was lit up like a fairy tale, tiny lights outlining buildings, the moon reflecting off the white walls. My room exceeded every expectation. The private terrace had a clear view of the caldera, and even in the darkness, I could see the silhouette of the volcano island in the center of the vast bay. Inside, everything was simple but perfect. Whitewashed walls, blue accents, a bed that looked like a cloud. I stepped out onto the terrace and breathed in the salt air. Somewhere in the distance, I could hear music and laughter, the sounds of people enjoying their lives. And for the first time in longer than I could remember, I was one of them. I pulled out my phone to take a photo, but then I hesitated. My family's anniversary party was happening right now, back in Milwaukee. 85 guests, a live band, probably speeches about love and commitment and family bonds. And I was here, 5,000 miles away, finally putting myself first. I took the photo anyway, the moonlit view, the terrace with its simple furniture, the life I was choosing. Then I posted it with a caption I didn't overthink. Chasing sunsets in Santorini. Here's to new beginnings. I hit share and put my phone on silent. Whatever happened next, I was ready. Back in Milwaukee, Sunday evening was the culmination of weeks of planning. The riverside terrace gleamed with white lights strung across the outdoor patio, overlooking Lake Michigan as waves lapped gently at the shore. Round tables draped in ivory linens filled the space, each one topped with arrangements of white roses and hydrangeas. A jazz quartet played softly near the bar, where guests mingled with champagne flutes and plates of bacon-wrapped scallops. My parents, Janet and Robert Fletcher, stood at the center of it all, accepting congratulations and hugs. Janet wore a midnight blue gown that probably cost more than my monthly rent, her hair styled in perfect waves. Robert had on a new suit, looking uncomfortable but pleased. Natalie flitted around like a butterfly, her laugh carrying across the patio as she orchestrated everything with the precision of a Broadway director. But the mood shifted around 8 o'clock. It started with a few guests checking their phones between conversations. Someone's aunt gasped softly, showing her screen to her husband. A couple who'd known my parents from their church group exchanged glances, their expressions shifting from celebration to confusion. My post from Santorini was making the rounds. Within 20 minutes, it had spread through the party like wildfire. Guests who followed me saw it first, then shared it with others. The image of my terrace overlooking the caldera, bathed in moonlight, with that simple caption about new beginnings, it told a story all its own. And people started asking questions. Patricia Morrison, a 62-year-old woman who'd been friends with my mother since college, was the first to say something. She approached Janet near the dessert table, her phone in hand. "Janet," she said, her voice cutting through the music. "Why is Emma posting from Greece? I thought she'd be here tonight." The conversations around them died down. Janet's smile flickered, but she recovered quickly. "Oh, you know Emma," she said with a little laugh. "She's always off on some adventure. Work takes her everywhere. She's so busy with her design clients." Patricia's eyes narrowed. "So she chose to go to Greece instead of coming to your 40th anniversary party?" "Well, we didn't want to burden her," Janet said, the words coming faster now. "She works so hard, and the travel from Chicago can be exhausting. We told her not to worry about it." But Patricia wasn't buying it, and neither were the other guests who'd gathered around. A cousin I barely knew spoke up. "That seems strange. Family comes first, doesn't it? Especially for something like this." Lily, my cousin who'd blown the whistle on the whole situation, stood near the bar. She'd stayed quiet so far, knowing her presence was expected, but watching with grim satisfaction as the truth began to seep out. When she caught Natalie's eye across the patio, she didn't look away. Natalie tried to smooth things over with her characteristic charm. "Emma's really independent," she said to a cluster of relatives. "She does her own thing. Always has. She's just not really the type for big family events." But more phones came out. More people saw my post, saw the sunset I'd shared earlier in the day, a breathtaking view of the Santorini skyline painted in pinks and golds, with the caption, "Sometimes the family you choose for yourself is better than the one you're born into." That caption hit different. People started whispering. An older gentleman who'd worked with my father decades ago approached Robert with a frown. "Rob, I don't mean to pry, but something seems off here. Your daughter's in Greece during your anniversary party? Did you two have a falling out?" Robert looked uncomfortable, tugging at his tie. No, nothing like that. Emma's she's building her career. We are proud of her." "Proud enough to have her here, I'd imagine," the man said pointedly. The energy of the party had shifted. Where there'd been warmth and celebration, now there was awkwardness, tension. Some guests started making excuses to leave early. Headaches, babysitter issues, early mornings tomorrow. The trickle became a stream. Natalie found her mother near the bathrooms, where Janet was touching up her makeup with shaking hands. "Mom, this is a disaster," Natalie hissed. "People are talking. They think we excluded Emma on purpose." "Well, we did," Janet snapped back, her composure cracking. "But they're not supposed to know that. She's making us look terrible with these posts." Janet's face hardened. "Call her. Tell her to stop posting. Tell her to come home and explain that this was all a misunderstanding." But when Natalie pulled out her phone, she found that I'd posted something else. A photo of me at a local taverna, a plate of fresh seafood and Greek salad in front of me, wine glass raised to the camera. The caption read, "Here's to family, the ones who actually show up." "She's doing this on purpose," Natalie breathed. By 9:30, nearly a third of the guests had left. The jazz quartet played to a diminishing crowd. Janet's forced smile had become a thin line. Robert stood on the edge of the patio, staring out at the dark water, and Natalie paced, her phone gripped in her hand, trying to decide what to do next. Patricia found Janet one more time before she left. "I've known you for 40 years, she said quietly, "and I've never seen you treat one of your children like this. Whatever's going on, you need to fix it. Because what I'm seeing tonight, it doesn't reflect well on you or Robert." After she walked away, Janet finally let the tears come. But they weren't tears of remorse. They were tears of frustration, of embarrassment, of a carefully constructed image crumbling in public. Lily watched it all from her spot at the bar, sipping water. When the bartender asked if she was okay, she nodded. "I'm fine," she said. This is exactly what needed to happen. The party limped to its scheduled end at 11, but the damage was done. The celebration meant to showcase 40 years of love and family, had instead exposed something uglier underneath. And 5,000 miles away, I was sleeping soundly in Santorini, dreaming of blue water and white buildings, completely unaware that everything back home had just imploded. Tuesday morning in Santorini, I woke up to 47 missed calls. I'd kept my phone on silent since arriving, checking it only occasionally to post photos and respond to friends. But when I finally looked at the screen over breakfast on my terrace, Greek yogurt with honey, fresh figs, strong coffee, the barrage of notifications made my stomach drop. 15 calls from my mother. 12 from Natalie. 8 from my father. 6 from my brother Cameron, who I hadn't spoken to in months. And a string of increasingly frantic text messages. I didn't want to read them. I wanted to sit in the Mediterranean sunshine and pretend Milwaukee didn't exist. But curiosity, or maybe something darker, made me scroll through. From Janet. "Emma, call me immediately. You've embarrassed us in front of everyone." From Natalie. "What you're doing is cruel and selfish. Take down those posts." From Robert. "Your mother is very upset. Please come home so we can talk about this." From Cameron. "Seriously, Emma? You couldn't have just come to the party like a normal person." I set my phone down carefully, my hands steady despite the anger building in my chest. They weren't apologizing. They weren't acknowledging what they'd done. They were blaming me, again, for having the audacity to live my life instead of shrinking into the background where they wanted me. I finished my breakfast slowly, savoring each bite. Then I picked up my phone and called Whitney. "Tell me you're not letting them ruin your trip," she said immediately. "I'm not," I assured her. "But I need to decide how to handle this. Do I respond? Do I ignore them? What do you want to do?" I thought about it, watching a cat stretch lazily on a neighboring terrace. I want them to understand that I'm done being their safety net. Done being the person they can use and then discard. But I don't think they're capable of understanding that. "Then show them," Whitney said firmly. "Keep living your life. Keep posting. Let them see exactly what they're missing." So I did. That afternoon, I went on my sunset sailing tour around the caldera. The boat was small, just 6 other tourists and a captain who pointed out the volcanic beaches and ancient ruins as we sailed past. When we anchored in a quiet cove, I dove into the Aegean Sea, the water so clear I could see fish swimming 15 feet below. I took photos of everything, the red cliffs rising from the water, the white churches perched impossibly on the rim of the caldera, the way the sun turned the sea into liquid gold. I posted my favorite shot, me on the bow of the boat, arms spread wide, the wind whipping my hair, genuine joy on my face. The caption, "Freedom looks good on me." The responses poured in, friends, clients, even people I barely knew telling me I was glowing, that I deserved this, that they were proud of me. But mixed in were comments from people who knew my family. Someone had clearly told them what happened. "Your parents should be ashamed," one wrote. "Family is supposed to support you, not exclude you," said another. And then, buried in the comments, I saw one from someone I didn't recognize. "I was at the anniversary party. Your absence said more than your presence ever could have. Thank you for being authentic." That evening, as I sipped wine at a cliffside restaurant and watched the sun set over the caldera, my phone rang again. This time it was Cameron, my older brother who'd moved to Milwaukee after law school and rarely had time for me unless he needed something. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Emma, what the hell is going on?" he demanded. "Mom's been crying for 2 days. Natalie can't stop talking about how you're sabotaging the family. And you're just posting vacation photos like nothing's wrong." "What's wrong is that I wasn't invited to my own parents' anniversary party," I said calmly. "And when I found out they'd lied about it being a small gathering, when I found out I'd helped pay for an event I wasn't welcome at, I decided to do something for myself instead." "How is that sabotage?" "You're making us look bad." "No, Cameron. Your actions made you look bad. I'm just living my life. He sputtered. You could have handled this privately. Instead, you air everything on social media like some kind of... Like what? I interrupted. Say it. Like some kind of attention seeker? Like someone who doesn't know her place? I've spent my entire adult life handling things privately, sending money, helping out, keeping quiet when I was hurt or excluded. And where did it get me? Nowhere. So now I'm doing something different. I'm choosing myself. That's selfish. Is it? My voice was ice now. Was it selfish when I sent $5,000 for the furnace repair? Or $3,000 for your wedding when you came up short? Or the $2,000 for Natalie's boutique emergency last year? Tell me, Cameron, when exactly did any of you pay me back? When did any of you think about what was fair to me? Silence on the other end. That's what I thought, I said. I'm not coming home to smooth this over. I'm not taking down my posts. I'm not apologizing for having the audacity to exist outside of what's convenient for you. And if that makes me selfish in your eyes, I can live with that. I hung up before he could respond. My hands were shaking, but it wasn't fear. It was liberation. For the first time in my life, I'd stood up to them without apologizing, without softening my words, without trying to make them feel better about hurting me. I posted one more photo that night, a simple shot of my empty plate and wine glass, the lights of OA twinkling in the background. The caption was just 2 words: no regrets. The week after the anniversary party was a masterclass in consequences. I was still in Greece. I'd extended my stay another 4 days, thanks to Whitney's contacts, when Lily started sending me updates. Unlike the rest of my family, Lily didn't want anything from me except friendship. She was a truth teller, and right now, the truth was messy. Your mom lost her position on the church hospitality committee, Lily texted Wednesday morning. Patricia Morrison led the charge. Said she couldn't trust someone who treats family that way to represent the church. I was sitting at a cafe in Fira, eating loukoumades, Greek honey donuts, when that message came through. I should have felt guilty. I didn't. The next message: Natalie's boutique is getting review bombed. Someone from the party must have spread the word about what happened. People are saying they don't want to support a business owner with poor family values. I stared at my phone. I hadn't wanted this. Hadn't intended for their businesses and social standings to take hits. But I also couldn't summon much sympathy. They'd made their choices. Now they were living with them. Thursday, Lily called instead of texting. Cameron's firm asked him to take a social media training course, she said, barely containing her laughter. Apparently someone screenshot his Facebook rant about you, the one where he called you selfish and attention-seeking, and sent it to his managing partner. They told him it reflects poorly on the firm's image. He posted about me publicly. I asked, genuinely surprised. Oh yeah. It was a whole thing. He took it down after an hour, but the internet is forever, you know? Some people got screenshots. I thought about my straight-laced brother, always so concerned with appearances and propriety, having to sit through a training course about professional behavior online. The irony was almost too much. How's my dad handling all this? I asked, because Robert had been the quietest of all of them. No angry calls, no demanding texts. Lily sighed. He's embarrassed. I saw him at the hardware store yesterday, and he couldn't even look at me. I think he knows they messed up, but he's too proud to admit it. Or maybe he's just too much of a coward to go against Janet. That sounded about right. My father had always been conflict-averse, happy to let my mother make the decisions and set the tone. Even when I was growing up, he'd go along with whatever she wanted, even if it meant ignoring obvious unfairness. Friday morning, I was hiking down to the volcanic beaches when Whitney called, her voice tight with concern. Emma, your family's trying to get in touch with me, she said. Your mom called the agency, asking for your hotel information. I obviously didn't give it to her, but she was persistent. Said it was a family emergency. My stomach clenched. What kind of emergency? She didn't specify. But Emma, I've been in this business long enough to know manipulation when I hear it. She wants to get to you, and she'll say whatever she thinks will work. I stopped walking, standing on the black sand beach as small waves lapped at my feet. Part of me, The old Emma, the people pleaser, wanted to call and make sure everything was okay. But the new Emma, the one who was learning to trust her instincts, knew better. If it was a real emergency, they'd tell you what it was, I said. This is just another way to try to control me. That's what I thought too, Whitney agreed. But I wanted you to know, in case they try to contact you directly. They did, about 3 hours later. This time it was Natalie, and she'd switched tactics from anger to desperation. Emma, please, you have to come home, she said when I answered, her voice thick with tears. Mom's not doing well. She's been crying every day. Dad's barely speaking to anyone. Cameron and I are trying to hold everything together, but it's falling apart. Please, can we just talk face to face? I sat on a bench overlooking the caldera, watching sailboats glide across the blue water. What exactly would we talk about, Natalie? About how to fix this. About how to move forward as a family. But we're not really family, are we? I said quietly. That's what you told me. I'm too independent, remember? I don't fit the vibe. So why would I come home to fix a family I'm not really part of? Emma, I didn't mean. Yes, you did, I interrupted. You meant every word. You all did. And now you're upset because there are consequences. But those consequences aren't my problem to solve. You're being cruel. No, Natalie. I'm being honest. For the first time in my life, I'm being completely honest with you. And you can't stand it because it means you can't use me anymore. She was sobbing now, but I felt nothing. Maybe that should have scared me, this absence of guilt, of the need to fix things. But it didn't. It felt like clarity. I'm going to be in Greece for another week, I said. When I come home to Chicago, I'll be blocking all of your numbers. If you try to show up at my apartment, I'll call the police. I'm done, Natalie. With all of you. You made your choice when you excluded me from that party. Now I'm making mine. I hung up and turned off my phone completely. That night, I posted a photo from the black sand beach at sunset, the volcanic rocks gleaming, the water turning purple and gold, my shadow stretched long across the sand. The caption: learning that peace sometimes means walking away from the people who disturb it. The comments were overwhelming, hundreds of people sharing their own stories of family betrayal, of choosing themselves, of finding freedom in distance. I read through them as I lay in bed, feeling less alone than I had in years. Back in Milwaukee, I later learned from Lily, my family was in crisis mode. Janet had taken to bed, overcome with stress. Natalie's boutique had lost several clients. Cameron was keeping an even lower profile than usual, avoiding social media entirely. And Robert was drinking more than usual, hiding in his workshop instead of facing the mess his family had become. But I wasn't there to see it. I was in Santorini, eating fresh seafood and drinking local wine, watching the sun set over the Aegean Sea, and feeling more myself than I had in 32 years. I came home to Chicago 2 weeks after I'd left, tanned, and clear-eyed and fundamentally changed. My apartment felt different when I walked in, smaller maybe, but also safer. This was my space, built on my terms, filled with my choices. No one here could demand pieces of me I wasn't willing to give. The first thing I did was block my family's numbers. All of them. Janet, Robert, Natalie, Cameron, even extended family members I suspected might try to play mediator or guilt me into reconciliation. My phone suddenly felt lighter. The second thing I did was check my email. Mixed in with the usual client requests and spam was a message from an editor at Wanderlust magazine, a major travel publication. They'd seen my Greece photos and wanted to talk about me contributing a regular column, personal essays with photography, focusing on solo female travel and the courage it takes to choose yourself. I read the email 3 times, hardly believing it. This was the kind of opportunity I dreamed about but never thought I was good enough for. The old Emma would have second-guessed herself, would have wondered if she deserved it. The new Emma just replied, "Let's talk." The third thing I did was reach out to Lily, the only family member I still wanted in my life. "How's the fallout?" I asked when she answered. "Still falling," she said wryly. "Your mom's telling everyone who'll listen that you abandoned the family. Natalie's trying to rebuild her reputation. Cameron's lying low. Your dad, honestly, I think your dad feels guilty, but he'll never say it out loud. Do you think they understand why I did what I did? Lily was quiet for a moment. No, she finally said. I don't think they do. They still see themselves as the victims in this story. You're the villain who embarrassed them, not the daughter they hurt. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. That's what I thought. Are you okay with that? Was I? I looked around my apartment, at the photos from Greece tacked to a corkboard, at my camera sitting on my desk ready for the next adventure, at the life I was building that had nothing to do with them. Yeah, I said. I really am. Over the next few months, I built something I'd never had before, a life entirely on my own terms. The Wanderlust magazine column became a reality. My first piece, The Family I Left Behind to Find Myself, went semi-viral, resonating with thousands of people who'd felt invisible in their own families. The comment section filled with stories that mirrored mine, adult children who gave and gave until there was nothing left, who were taken for granted until they finally walked away. An editor from a publishing house reached out, asking if I'd ever considered writing a book. I hadn't, but suddenly I was. My graphic design business grew too. Something about my Greece photos had attracted a different caliber of client: boutique hotels, travel companies, lifestyle brands that wanted authentic imagery. I was making more money than I ever had, and I wasn't sending a penny of it to Milwaukee. Lily visited me in Chicago in late spring, 6 months after the anniversary party. We sat on my balcony with wine and takeout from my favorite Thai place, watching the city lights come alive as the sun set. They still talk about you, she said carefully. Not often, and not openly, but you're this presence in every family gathering. Like a ghost. Do they ever take responsibility? She shook her head. Janet tells a version of the story where you overreacted to a simple miscommunication. Natalie says you were always difficult. Cameron doesn't talk about it at all. And your dad? She trailed off. Your dad looks sad sometimes. Like he knows something broke that can't be fixed. It can't, I said simply. They had years to treat me like I mattered. They chose not to. I'm not interested in giving them more chances to disappoint me. I don't blame you, Lily said quietly. I've been watching how different you are now. Lighter. Happier. Like you finally have room to breathe. She was right. I deleted years of texts and emails, had purged old photos that showed me smiling next to people who saw me as an ATM. I'd created new traditions, solo trips every quarter, weekly dinners with real friends, Sunday mornings spent in coffee shops working on my book instead of fielding family demands. The loneliness I'd feared never came. If anything, I felt less lonely than I had when I was still trying to belong to a family that didn't want me. One evening in June, almost a year after the anniversary party, I got a letter in the mail. Real paper, my father's handwriting on the envelope. My first instinct was to throw it away, but curiosity won. Dear Emma, I've started this letter 100 times and never known what to say. Your mother tells me I should leave you alone, that you've made your choice. Natalie says you're being stubborn. Cameron says time will heal things. But I think they're all wrong. I think we broke something that can't be healed with time or apologies, or any of the things families are supposed to do to fix rifts. I think we showed you who we were, and you believed us, and now you're living accordingly. I'm writing not to ask you to forgive us or come back. I'm writing because you deserve to know that I see it now, how much you gave, how little we appreciated it, how wrong we were to exclude you. Your mother still won't admit it. Your siblings have convinced themselves of their own versions. But I know the truth. You were the best of us, Emma. And we didn't deserve you. I'm not asking for a response. I just wanted you to know that at least one person in this family understands why you left. And why you should stay gone. Dad, I read the letter twice, then folded it carefully and put it in a drawer. It wasn't an apology, not really. But it was acknowledgement, and that was something. I didn't respond. Some things were better left unsaid. By the time summer arrived, I'd finished the first draft of my book, Choosing Myself, What I Learned When I Left My Family Behind . My agent thought it would sell well. I thought it might help someone else who felt trapped by family obligation, who needed permission to walk away. I posted a photo on social media that anniversary, 1 year since the party that changed everything. It was me in my Chicago apartment, surrounded by printed pages of my manuscript, My Greece photos on the wall behind me, a genuine smile on my face. The caption, * a year ago, I wasn't invited to my parents' 40th anniversary party. Today, I'm celebrating the anniversary of choosing myself. Best decision I ever made. The comments poured in, thousands of them. People sharing their own stories, thanking me for being honest, telling me I'd inspired them to set their own boundaries. And buried in those comments was one from an account I didn't recognize at first. But when I clicked on it, I saw it was Patricia Morrison, the woman who'd confronted my mother at the party. I watched your family treat you poorly for years, * she wrote. * I'm ashamed I never said anything until that night. But I'm glad you found the courage to save yourself. Keep shining, Emma. You're teaching a lot of people what self-respect looks like. * I smiled and liked her comment. That evening, I sat on my balcony with a glass of wine, watching the Chicago skyline turn pink in the sunset. My phone buzzed with a text from Whitney, * Greece again next month? I found an amazing deal on Crete. * I typed back immediately, * book it. * Because that was the thing about choosing yourself. Once you started, you didn't stop. You kept choosing, kept building, kept creating a life that felt true instead of obligatory. You surrounded yourself with people who celebrated you instead of using you. You learned that family wasn't about blood or obligation, but about who showed up, who saw you, who loved you for exactly who you were. I'd spent 32 years trying to earn my place in a family that never valued me. Now I was spending my time building something better, a chosen family of friends who actually cared, a career that fulfilled me, adventures that made me feel alive, and most importantly, a relationship with myself based on respect instead of sacrifice. My parents' anniversary party had been meant to celebrate 40 years of commitment. Instead, it had become the catalyst for the most important commitment I'd ever make, the commitment to myself, to my happiness, to the truth that I was enough exactly as I was. Sometimes the family you're born into isn't the family you need. Sometimes walking away isn't giving up, it's waking up. And sometimes the only way to find yourself is to lose the people who never really saw you in the first place. I raised my wine glass to the Chicago skyline, to the woman I'd become, to the life I was building one choice at a time. Here's to family, I said out loud, echoing the toast I'd made in Greece a year ago. The ones who actually show up. And for the first time in my life, I was showing up for myself. 2 years after the anniversary party, * choosing myself * hit the New York Times bestseller list. The book tour took me to 30 cities, where I met thousands of people who'd walked away from toxic families, who'd chosen themselves despite the guilt and fear and societal pressure to stay. My photography appeared in major magazines. I bought a small cottage in Michigan, a place where I could escape Chicago and create without distraction. I dated a kind man named Owen who'd also rebuilt his life after cutting off his toxic parents. We understood each other in ways my family never could. Lily got married, and I was her maid of honor. It was a small wedding, just close friends and the family members who actually knew how to love without conditions. My parents weren't invited. Natalie and Cameron came, but we didn't speak beyond polite nods. I never reconciled with my family. There was no dramatic reunion, no tearful apology scene, no moment where everything was magically fixed. Some stories don't have those endings, and that's okay. Instead, I learned that healing doesn't always look like forgiveness. Sometimes it looks like distance. Sometimes it looks like building something new instead of repairing something broken beyond repair. Sometimes it looks like a woman in her mid-30s, standing on a balcony in Chicago, holding a best-selling book with her name on it, surrounded by people who actually love her, finally, at peace. The last time I heard about my parents was through Lily. They'd moved to a retirement community in Florida, downsizing from the Milwaukee house I'd helped them repair. Natalie's boutique had stabilized but never really recovered. Cameron made partner at his firm, but had divorced after his wife said he was emotionally unavailable. I felt nothing when I heard these updates. Not satisfaction, not sadness, not anger. Just a peaceful neutrality, like hearing about strangers whose lives had once briefly intersected with mine. Because that's what they were now, people I used to know, people who taught me the most important lesson of my life, that you can't make people value you, but you can stop giving them the power to devalue you. I'd asked them once, in that phone call from Greece, are we even family? It had taken me 2 years to realize the answer didn't matter. What mattered was that I'd finally become family to myself, and that was enough.